I matched. This was not intentional. It's pretty amazing though, so photo opportunities, just going nuts. Hi guys, I'm Beck Feiner. And I thought I'd also talk about, this theme of becoming. So what do you want to be when you grow up? That's the words adults constantly ask you and start thinking about from a really young age. A vet, a teacher. My daughter constantly goes between becoming a doctor and a pet groomer, which I feel like are very vastly different skills to have, but I'm like, go for it. For me, it was always I wanted to be an artist and famous too. I always remember these words existing very closely together, art and fame. I didn't know what it really was meant to be famous, but I certainly knew it was to be special. I luckily was good at art and I loved it. I went to after school art lessons. I drew everything. I was notoriously famous for drawing on walls and on photo albums, on my parents' photo albums. I remember getting into trouble and I couldn't understand why, scribbling missing teeth out and drawing devil horns was not making the art better, but anyway. And I remember being really proud of my drawings and showing it off. But as I got older, I remember starting to feel more self-conscious. I think when you enter into teenagehood, you become so aware of what other people think of your art. So I wasn't showing my art as much. I still loved it and I was very good at it, top of HSC at Art Express. But, all those things, I was ticking those goals, right? Like I was doing a great job. But it was weird. I could see myself slowly trying to do art that other people, that I looked up to other people. And of course you need to be inspired by other people, but it was what I wanted other people to think of me. I got a degree. I went to UTS. I did visual communications. I loved it. I loved university. It was amazing. And then I went to London with a degree in graphic design and trying for the next couple of years to get a job. So it wasn't the best time of my life. I felt pretty low and lost confidence and feeling that I hadn't really succeeded. I kind of came out of university with these really high marks and I was this overachiever, and I got to London and I was like, no one knew what an Aussie degree was. No one really cared. No one, I didn't have experience. I didn't have my portfolio plus it rained a lot in London and there was no trees where I lived. But I did slowly start getting into the graphic design industry. It was a humbling experience. The kid who always did really well at art wasn't getting the jobs. I was a runner. I got lunches for all my bosses. I was very good at getting lunches. Not so good on reception. That wasn't my strong point. And I worked on the most boring of boring graphic design jobs. I think, if to be honest, the mental health issues started to raise. I started feeling really anxious. I started to think I had totally mucked up with my choices and now I had to live with my consequences. I was like 22. So from about 25 to 30, things career-wise started to improve. I finally got a real job in graphic design agency, and through graphic design I discovered that I loved the conceptual part of design. So I actually did award school and I went into advertising. So by then I'd moved back to Sydney. I loved coming up with big television commercials and working on photo shoots. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Maybe this is my thing. This is what I'm going to become. I worked at my butt off. I don't know if you know about advertising. It's a lot of all-nighters, pretty fun, play a lot of ping pong. And I was being taught by incredible people. Like I was at a really great advertising agency, but again, I just knew something wasn't right. I was moving up in my career, but deep down I thought of myself still as a bit of a failure. That I hadn't set out to do what I wanted to do, to become an artist or anything special. Just a cog in the wheel of advertising, which I kind of began to despise. I started getting pretty cynical about it. I used to fantasize about drawing and doing art, but I thought the boat had sailed. If only I had just kept on going with my original passion. If only I hadn't gone overseas. If only I had confidence. If only. The hilarious thing, which I wish I'd told myself two things at the time. Firstly, it's never too late. I just read about a woman that did her university degree and master's at age 99, just to give you some. And how can you really know what you want at a young age? I mean, career counsellors are incredible, but sometimes it takes time and trying, failing, and, some experience. I actually realised that all my failings and experience in advertising had been so beneficial. I apply a lot of my advertising thinking to my illustrations. And I went in it's actually quite good to not go in as the top dog, to go in as the highest. It's actually quite good to have to make some tea and work your way up in the industry. Anyway, I was in my 30s when things started to move for me. And I thought that was old, but now I realise it was young. I am now 40. So a quick summary of how my life changed. I had a baby, and advertising even 10 years ago, they did not know what to do with a woman who had a baby, especially in the creative industry. There was no paid maternity leave. And then when I came back, I wasn't working on those top jobs anymore because I couldn't do those all-nighters. So, and then it dawned on me, when I went to have my second child, that I finally had some time off on maternity leave. I mean, I had 2 small babies, but I think when you have your second baby, your kind of mind is a bit more active than the first baby. And and this was the opportunity to see if I could become an illustrator. I said to my husband, okay, I've got a year. I'm gonna see if I can just make this work. This was the first time I wasn't working this 9-to-5 job. Which brings me to my second point. You have to be brave. This came in the form of launching an Instagram account. I know it sounds crazy that launching a new Instagram account, but it was called Beck Feiner Illustrations. It was like my coming out to the world that I was an illustrator. And people were like, I didn't know you drew. And it was very scary, but I did it. And I know social media has so many dark, addictive sides. But for me, Instagram allowed me to become an illustrator and slowly to start realize, it doesn't sound big, but so many people I know didn't know I was an illustrator. I was too scared to show my work before, too scared people would think I didn't have enough talent. Enough of me being that scared teenager back then who didn't show my work. I gave myself a challenge of doing 1 illustration per day, as I really think it was the key to keeping my creative juices flowing. And people liked it, to my surprise. Hold on. My confidence started to grow, and this allowed me to, share more. It's that famous point that you just got to put in that 10,000 hours. The more I applied myself, the more I got better. I also started teaching my first child the alphabet and realised that all the books and posters out there were boring, like A is for apple, B is for banana. Then I had an idea. I decided, why not teach him about all the incredible Australian legends out there, and let him learn about the alphabet at the same time. So I will present you my idea. Aussie Legends Alphabet. Thank you. So it was. I started playing around with letters, and I was like, oh, I can put a head. I remember saying to my husband, I'm going to put a head on a letter. He looked at me, and I was in bed. I remember the night, and it was like this alphabet changed my world. So I wanted to make an alphabet that showed that you're a legend, no matter what religion, socioeconomic background you come, gender, anything. You can become a legend. And believe it or not, again, about 8 years ago, we see so many diverse kids material out there, but there actually wasn't very much in Australia at that time. So I went and I started thinking about what am I going to put, who's going to be in my alphabet. And again, I did a little collab with Fred Hollows, and it was on the Fred Hollows website. Anyway, I remember sitting at a cafe, and I had a Shopify site, and when you get a sale that goes ka-ching, it's a very addictive. I know what they're doing. And so I remember being out and it went ka-ching, 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 and I was like, oh. So it was this moment of incredible excitement and then incredible stress because the posters hadn't arrived yet. I went on the Today Show, the morning show. I went on, my social media account started to flourish. I realised I was never going back to advertising. I remember walking out, I was like, I quit. This was it, which brings me to my next part of what I wanted to talk to you about, which is becoming famous. Now, let's talk about this idea of being famous. I often wondered why I was so obsessed with this. Fame is basically getting a lot of external praise and on a mass scale, and there's nothing wrong with this. And I loved it. I lapped it up. Though this was what I was looking for. However, this excitement cannot last. I lost a lot of weight too by actually dealing with the postage and everything. But because first of all, you can go viral, but then all viral things fade. And you just can't keep up with that level of excitement either. It's actually exhausting. I kept on looking for projects that would produce that same crazy feeling I got when publishers asked me to come in or walked on a TV set. And you know what was amazing about the Aussie Legends Alphabet is it led to more book deals with my publisher. But it never gave me that same high. I had to start tapping into my values, understanding what brings me joy, pleasure and purpose, which leads me to my next. And that was making kids' books. So this is the range of kids' books that I've done. Our next one that we did after Aussie Legends, you can see Aussie Legends there. So we managed to negotiate a book deal, and my husband and I he came on, and we did this book called If I Was Prime Minister, which is actually my favourite book. So it's in Parliament House, guys. It's all about teaching what we thought that kids have way better ideas than adults, and we thought, what happens if we asked a whole range of kids what they would do if they were Prime Minister of Australia? And you got some pretty crazy responses, and then we took them all and wrote them a bit nicer. And we turned it into a kids' book, which I'm just so proud of, and has actually gone on to have longevity as opposed to that spike of excitement that I was just originally looking for. And in the end, I was like, this is what I love doing. I love going into worlds. I love creating kids' books. This is bringing me true joy and pleasure. And another area that began to provide me with purpose was creating illustrations that shone a spotlight on social and environmental issues, especially ones of the moment. If there is an event or something happening in the news that I think is worth talking about, I draw it. I began to realise that this gave me a lot of joy and purpose. So I'm just going to show you. So these are some of the illustrations that I do. Then I've gone on to do more posters. I love a poster. So this one I thought, why don't I make a calendar about remembering important days, not necessarily the Queen's birthday. We all love a public holiday, but, there's some important dates that we're not remembering and should be celebrated and also just spoken about. So I went through and I did all the different days, like Disability Day, National Sorry Day, when Cathy Freeman won her gold medal. I love this one. I have just worked with a domestic violence prevention organisation called MATE, who has an app that so if you know someone who's in a domestic violence situation but don't know what to do, you can go on an app and it will tell you what to do. So again, I'm able to work with organisations now that I really love, and they also wanted to talk about how to reach out to someone. So we came up with a whole bunch of these mental health cards that just, when you don't know what to say to someone, like you're like, oh, you are going through a terrible time. So we came up with a range of gift cards for them. So now I am an artist and an author, but I'm not just these labels. These labels don't define me. I need to be happy with who I am inside and not by how everyone sees me. And again, as I said, it takes daily work. As soon as I start to care too much about the Instagram posts, it never makes me happy, and I have to remind myself of this. It also leads me to talking about other things I love in life, because my creative life can be quite consuming. Obviously, creativity is the essence of who I am, but there are other sides to me that make me happy. I'm a mother who loves to run. I just did the city to surf. Anyone else do the city to surf? Yeah? No? You guys are quite lazy. Okay. And I drew all day, but I do realise I need other things in my life. I need to be healthy. I need to get sleep. I need to spend time with my kids. I really love my dog. I actually found really simple things like going for a walk with my dog in the park to be such a happy and meditative thing for me to do. And I have to remind myself that I don't have to be happy through constant achievements. Self-importance is a bit of a curse. I love doing workshops at the Sydney Children's Hospital. It is meaningful, which gives me joy. I mean, how fun are clown doctors? I think I could become a clown doctor. I've thought about it. And I'm just here to learn, to be grateful, and just want to become something I'm proud of. I'm proud of myself. It's just not about being the best or the most successful, but it's also being part of a huge network of people and animals on this earth. It's about being part of a community, a movement, and a collective, and that's what I'm making my work for now. And with this last point, that brings me to the end of my talk, and I hope you become who you're meant to be, and don't stress, you've got a little bit of time. Thank you so much.